this is a really exciting dish. It's going to be super affordable, like £1.79. It's going to fill you up. It's full of nutrition. We're going to use celeriac mash, a port loin, red cabbage, and some mushrooms.
Yep.
And then out for sort of flavouring up, just using a bit of garlic. Now, we always recommend fresh garlic if you can, but this is a convenience programme. So we always buy very lazy garlic, because that tends to last us well over a month. And actually, therefore, you're not wasting anything. Therefore, it's a bit cheaper, speeds up prep. And then we've got salt and black pepper.
Yeah. So with your very lazy garlic, just if you are using that, then always make sure you keep it in the fridge.
Yeah.
We're going to be cooking the mushrooms in butter, so they're going to be like buttery garlic mushrooms. So really indulgent, but not expensive. So we're going to start off by frying off our mushrooms.
So you've just taken them, cut them in half. And again, you know, look around the supermarket, find out what's on deal, what's on an offer.
Yeah.
Any types of mushrooms really will work in this dish.
Well, you love mushrooms, don't you?
I have mushrooms in virtually, well, I won't say everything. I would say probably half the dishes, and the reason for this, mushrooms, in fact, we'll show you a chart. Mushrooms, other than that very special pasta, that konjac noodles, which are made of nothing but fibre, of all the other vegetables that are out there in the world, the mushroom has the least carbohydrates. And what does that mean in plain English? It means it turns into the least amount of sugar of any vegetable. Less than 1 gram per 100 grams of mushrooms turns into carbohydrates and sugar. So that's just fantastic, fantastic news. So I use it to bulk up the plate.
Yeah.
It gives great flavour as well, but I use it to bulk up the plate, bulk up the energy, to give all those nutrients. And remember, fungi has been used in medicine for centuries, so we know it's good for our health. So good for health, no carbohydrates to speak of, fills up the plate. Most people love the flavour, and it just goes with almost any dish.
I mean, they're so simple to use, aren't they? And like you say, they're really inexpensive.
You need a spoon, don't you?
I do.
Let me get you a spoon from the other kitchen. There we go.
Thank you very much. So we're just cooking off the mushrooms. We're going to add in 1 teaspoon of garlic. Already smells amazing.
Isn't it just? And garlic also. We talk about mushrooms being an ancient medicine.
Yeah.
You know, garlic, as far back as you go, as far back as Hippocrates talking about it as a medicine. It's been used in Asian medicine, Indian medicine, Egyptian medicine for many, many, many years. And there's so much goodness in garlic. It is also one of the 10 top taste bud tantalizers to put into food. So most dishes will benefit from a little bit of garlic. So not just on the health, but also on the flavour. In fact, Stephen Whitley said, and he was the chief scientist at Nestle for many years.
Yeah.
He says, I've yet to find a dish that won't benefit from either vanilla or garlic.
I think that's so true. It's so true, isn't it?
Yeah,
and
so
also
if vanilla won't go in, then nearly always garlic will.
Yeah, we'll avoid the vanilla at this stage. But no, it's so true. And also with garlic, you can always buy fresh, chop it up yourself and pop it into the freezer for another day.
Yeah.
So that's another great tip.
And I've just noticed you've taken off the fat. I mean, I always cook with the fat.
Yes.
Because I believe fat's healthy. What's your view?
I think in something like this, when you're trying to do something really quickly,
right.
Obviously, if I was doing a roasted joint of pork, I would keep the fat on.
Yeah.
Again, if I was popping it straight into the oven so that I could cook it, so that I could crisp up those edges, great. But for now, keep the fat off, quicker cooking time. You don't end up having all the chewy bits. Cook it, enjoy it, keep the pork for another day.
Yeah, so what we do at home, we have one little tub in the freezer that is just the pork fat.
Yeah.
Because what does Grandad like? The crackling. What happens when Grandad comes round, when we're doing a nice big roast and we've got a bit of pork, before we go out, come back in, it's all been stolen. Grandad's stolen, it's gone straight in, add the pork scratchings, the cracknel. So if you have a whole tub of this, you put it in with the oven with the rest of the Sunday roast, and then you've got a whole tray of free, because you were going to throw it away before pork cracklings.
Well, I think that's such a good idea. So this one was for Grandad.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's looking great. So we've got the mushrooms in there, we've got the garlic, we've got the pork in there, the cabbage, and so I guess really just the cabbage to do and the celeriac mash next.
Yeah, so what I would suggest is that once this is cooked, you're just going to take it out, pop it onto your plate. You know, it could be your serving plate, or you could just pop it into a bowl for a couple of minutes.
Yep.
Then cook off your red cabbage.
Yep.
The cabbage is obviously quite purple. So you don't want to go dyeing your food. I mean, obviously, if you're just eating this at home alone, does it really matter what it looks like? Well, I think it does a little bit, because you want it to look appealing and appetizing.
So even though you love your one pot, you're still going to use one pot, but you're not wanting to colour the food.
I think so. So yeah, cook off your cabbage. You can add a little bit of water just to soften it more quickly. Obviously, you've already got the garlic in there, so the flavours are going to be there. And then serve it with your celeriac mash.
Brilliant. All right, let's get on to that then. So let's cook the cabbage.
So we're just softening it up. You've got, as we already said, you've got all those flavours still in there. You shouldn't need to add any extra salt. You know, the salt in that pork, which would have been released in the pork juices as you cook it. You can if you really want to. Another great thing to add, which I do at home, is a little bit of apple cider vinegar, which is obviously a powerhouse in itself nutritionally. So a little bit of apple cider vinegar is a great addition. You know, toasted nuts, things like that.
And that will give you dynamic contrast with the toasted nuts, wouldn't it?
Well, exactly.
And of course, with the apple cider vinegar, a lot of people take that as a supplement, don't they, for weight loss?
They do.
Again, you know, a great ingredient, not too expensive. Because what would you use? Just a couple of tablespoons?
A couple of tablespoons maximum.
Yeah.
And it really does transform it. Really, really delicious. And you know, it's really affordable, isn't it, red cabbage? It's quite a cheap vegetable. Obviously,
well, you've used a third of a red cabbage there. That's way too much for one person. And I think the red cabbage, when we priced this up, was about 90p. So you've got about 25 pence worth of cabbage there. It's
incredible. And it's so filling. Yeah. I think that could easily serve 2 people, couldn't it? But, you know, one hungry one, and it's going to be great for your blood sugars, for keeping them balanced. That's whether you're type 1 or type 2 diabetic or not diabetic at all. You know, these recipes are for everyone, aren't they?
Yep. And of course, if we were doing it sort of all in one go, we've got more pots available, we'd do the mash at the same time. But let's now do the mash, and then let's plate it all up.
Brilliant.
So let's start by showing you a mash with Emma's techniques, using the celeriac, which remember has 1/10 of the carbohydrates of the same amount of potato. It's got vitamin B6, it's got vitamin C, it's got manganese, it's got phosphorus, it's got loads of good stuff. Now, how do you prep it? Good question. Some people use a peeler. For me, that just seems to take forever.
The skin is really tough.
Yeah.
So I would just suggest using a really sharp knife, a heavy knife, you know, a big knife, not a small one, because you're just not going to have the strength. But if you just take off, you don't have to go crazy and chop, you know, wedges off it, but just take the tougher.
Yeah, don't think you've got to eliminate all of it at all, because again, that would just waste way too much. And we reckon per person, per portion, doesn't matter whether you're doing celeriac wedges, or as I call them, roasties, whether you're doing chips or fries, or whether you're doing mash, it's about 1/3 per person will give you a big portion. So you might even want to just use 1/4 of a celeriac. It goes a long way. And what we also do, we both do the same thing, is whenever we're in the kitchen, we've got some spare time, we prep way in advance. So I personally will do 3 or 4 celeriacs all in one go, because you can put them in the freezer and bring it out when you need that convenience.
Exactly. And when you're with mash, you just want to cut it into small squares.
Yep.
Because, you know, then it's going to take a lot quicker. And it does, compared to potato, I'd say it probably takes probably 2/3 of the time. What do you think?
To actually boil it, to get it ready to mash?
Yeah, it's very quick.
Yeah, I would say you're done 7-8 minutes, something like that. So we're just going to pop those into a pan of boiling water, and then when we can put a knife or a fork into them quite easily, we'll come back and we will show you what to do next. So you've drained the water, what next?
So as you say, we've taken the water out. The celeriac is really nice and soft, so you can pop a fork in or a knife in.
Yeah.
And then we are just going to pop it into a bowl. You don't need to, don't need to be fancy and go out and buy a potato masher.
Yeah.
We're trying to make this as simple as possible.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to pop it straight into a bowl. You can use a bigger bowl, whatever you've got.
So most people will have like a potato masher at home, so you can use that and do it straight in the pot.
Yeah.
Cool, but you're just trying to go absolutely, because at home I use my blender that I use for everything else, because it just does it in seconds. But you're just showing again the most simple way of doing it with a fork.
With a fork, some a little bit of butter and some black pepper, and then you're just going to mash it up.
That's absolutely fantastic. Okay. And of course, you can add other things. So, you know, if you're the sort of person when you have mash, normally you put a lot of butter in potato mash, then put a lot in here. If you add cheese or if you have cream, normally when you do your mash at home, do the same, do whatever you want. If you like fiery, then add a little bit of pepper. Do you want to show you what I did the other day? I hope I can find it in the fridge. I hope we've got, yeah, I've got it, here we go. So the other day, I'd done some beetroot for a salad that I boiled. Yeah. Took the beetroot out of the pan. Yes. Put the celeriac roasties in before they were cooked. Cooked them in with the beetroot and turned it red. And then I put a duck breast over the top. And nobody could guess what it was. What's that? What was that strawberry type thing you had? It wasn't strawberry. It was celeriac mash with a little bit of a twist to it.
Oh, that's perfect, isn't it?
Yeah. And anyway, that's going to be your lovely, lovely mash. So as Emma continues with that, let's show you what we're going to do next. So that's looking absolutely fantastic. And there's so many different dishes that we can put it in, but we're sure you're going to love this one. Wow, that looks great. Yeah. So the mash is done. The cabbage is done, the main dish is done, we're plating up, we've got that's probably actually no more than a quarter of a cabbage, probably not even a quarter of a cabbage. On goes our mash, and that
is a massive meal.
It's a huge, huge, huge meal, full of good nutrition, vitamins, minerals, very, very low carb indeed, and well under £2.
I know, and literally protein packed.
Look at that.
And it looks like quite a carby dish, I would say,
it does
with all of that mash. But you know, in fact, that's probably one of the lowest on the whole plate of carbs, isn't it?
Fantastic. Well done, Emma.